Well, a number of top Democrats are calling the Tea Party extreme. They say that the movement is holding Republicans hostage as they try to negotiate a funding agreement that would avert a government shutdown. So, is the GOP feeling the heat or happy that the Tea Party is influencing the debate? Joining us now to talk about it, Republican Congressman Bill Huizenga, a member of the House Financial Services Committee. Also joining us, Judson Phillips, founder of Tea Party Nation. Gentlemen, welcome to you both.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Shannon. Appreciate it.
All right, so we heard some of the language this week from Democratic Senator Chuck Schumer saying use the word extreme. It's what I've been told to do. We've heard that word used for months when it comes to the Tea Party. Now they seem to say, those on the other side of the aisle, that the Tea Party is essentially holding the GOP hostage. Take a listen to what Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid said a little bit earlier this week.
I appreciate Speaker Boehner and the rest of his Republican leadership in the House. What a tremendously difficult job they have. I'm sure it's not easy trying to negotiate with the Tea Party screaming in their ears.
All right, Congressman, are they screaming in your ears and holding you hostage?
There is all kinds of rhetoric that's going on. Earlier this week, I and a number of other colleagues who showed up on the Senate steps wanting to know where the Senate was when in this debate got called juvenile by the Senate leader as well. And this is now public, but as in a private meeting with the freshmen, Speaker Boehner said, "Hey, he's worried about me getting painted into a box." He said to us, "Keep painting me in that box." I think we're on the right track.
Yeah, and we have heard this from other Republicans as well who are not running from an association with the Tea Party. It's something we heard from the Senate's top Republican as well, Mitch McConnell. Here's what he had to say.
The president has set the debate out entirely, and Democrats have the nerve to call anyone who expresses concern an extremist. If you're wondering where the Tea Party came from, look no further than that.
All right, Judson, what is the Tea Party's role in this heated debate?
Well, we're expressing the outrage of the American people. The American people have spoken overwhelmingly and continue to speak out that this kind of spending that Congress is pushing is just absolutely insane. We cannot afford it anymore. We said this in the election in November, where there was an unprecedented shift in the House of Representatives. And even recently, a Rasmussen poll came out just a few days ago that said almost 60% of Americans would prefer to see a government shutdown than spending at the current levels. So what the Tea Party is saying to Washington is what America is saying to Washington. You have got to stop the spending. You have got to stop the spending now before we end up like Europe, totally bankrupt and insolvent.
Congressman, are you worried about taking heat over a possible shutdown? What's your take on that?
Yeah, no, going back home is a very healthy thing, and I think we're doing that on a regular basis with good purpose and reason. To go back and talk to people outside the Beltway, that's not reality. We need to make sure that we're going back home and communicating with our district. And the feedback that I'm getting is keep pushing. You got to keep pushing, and that's a positive thing.
All right, Judson, at the end of the day, do you think that the Democrats' attempts to paint you as extremist are getting any traction? How do you respond to them? Because as you said, you feel like you're doing what the average American wants.
Yeah, well, this is what they always say. They always say we're radical, we're extreme, etc. Well, I think radical and extreme is driving the country into bankruptcy, which is what the Democrats want to do. They basically want to ignore the election that occurred this past November and just say, hey, we're going to keep these policies of incredible debt in place. We're going to continue spending money that we don't have. You want to talk about radical and extreme? Talk about Harry Reid. That's radical and extreme. His kind of spending. Say, doesn't he need to go back to that bordello in Searchlight, Nevada?
Okay, I'm not going to touch that at all. But I do want to ask you, Congressman, quickly, several pieces of legislation. One's passed the Senate. I know a couple are pending in the House and have passed there as well, that would shut off paychecks to members of Congress and the president if the government does shut down. Do you support that?
Yeah, I did, and that happened on a vote Friday. We reaffirmed H.R. 1, which was that $61 billion number. And I do want to note, too, when we were going through that original process, it was the most open process that Congress has ever seen going through that. I voted for every additional cut that was a part of that. And I think it's fair. If we're going to be asking our employees to go without paychecks, it certainly means that I do and the Senate as well as the president need to do the same thing.
All right, Congressman Huizenga and also Judson Phillips. Thank you, gentlemen, both for joining us. We know the debate is not over.